Dad, I want to mention our sponsor, Spreads.ca. It's owned by the Abenaki Council of Willownack First Nations, and they're an online casino and sportsbook. And if you sign up today and use the promo code GRAPES, they'll match your deposit 100%. So if you put $25 down, they'll give you $25, and you get 15 free spins on a kind of a slot machine. And if you get, I think, 3 of your jackets, you can win some big dough. And they get a $25, and if you're going to bet $25 on the sports bet, they'll give you $25 free to bet on it. So
all right, sounds good. I don't know.
Well, speaking of Bruins, Dad, we have some very sad news. One of your favorites, Bobby Miller.
I can't believe, when I got the email from Karen and the Bruins, and he was the youngest guy.
64 years old and passed away this past weekend.
And we saw him when I was down there for the get together. He just looked like $1 million. His hair was just a little gray. He looked like a movie star. I don't know what he died of or anything. It was sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to tell you, boy. I have to tell you, the first game. He's from Billerica, Mass, and the reason I think I liked him, he had a Boston accent. Boston, Garden. And anyhow, it was the first game. Now, think about this. I want you to think about this. This is really something. Mike Milbury was the other guy, and I liked Mike, but Mike was pretty sharp, eh? And Mike was a little older, I guess, or something, but he was pretty sharp. But anyhow, he was, and Bobby was always, every coach has sort of a whipping boy. He's not a whipping boy, but you really like the guy, and you're always giving him a hard time. So in Billerica, they're all excited in Mass. It's his first game, and we went to the island. I never thought of it, eh? And he's all excited, and he's on the bench, and all his parents and everybody's watching and everything. And I look out in the center, and I see the referee. I think it was John McCauley again. We're talking about John McCauley a lot, and I see him looking at the lineup, and I said, "This is not good." The lineup, and I kind of looked down at Frosty Forstall, who was the assistant general manager, or he was the assistant equipment manager, or I guess assistant
trainer.
Yeah, assistant trainer, equipment manager, they call it now. So anyhow, I looked down, and he doesn't look too happy, and I knew something was wrong. So John McCauley comes over, and he says, "Don, we got a problem." And I says, "What's the problem?" He says, "You put Forbes down instead of Bobby Miller."
So they both were 14.
Number 14. And what happened was, Frosty was so used to putting down Forbes, Davey Forbes, and I must talk about him sometime, that he put down Forbes instead of Miller. So I said, "Well, what am I going to do, John?" And he says, "Look, I'll go over to the penalty box, and I'll talk to them, and all players will all come around me and everything." And he said, "You get Miller off the bench." I said, "Holy smokes!" So John goes over to the penalty box, and I said, "Bobby, go to the dressing room." "Well, what for, Grapes? What for? What did I do wrong?" "No, go to the dressing room." And he didn't want to go because he was so excited to play the game. And holy smokes, they finally, and the two TV guys said, "We don't understand why." And then they, said. And I looked down at Frosty, and Frosty had a towel over his head.
So did you still let him fill out your lineup sheet?
Oh, yeah. I never made a mistake after that. I never said anything. I took the blame again, as usual. But that was the very first game he was supposed to play, and everybody in Massachusetts was waiting to see the guy from Billerica. Now, I had a hard time getting him on the club. Now, we had a OHL, our number first draft choices, and he won the scoring title, and Bobby was number 3, I think.
He was a 4th round pick.
4th round pick?
Yeah.
I knew he was around here. Now, let me describe why I would not want the number 1 scoring the OHL, and why I think he was the MVP. Anyhow, I had John Rattel, who won the scoring champions for us. I had Greg Shepard, who was at 20 goals, and I had Peter McNabb, who got 43 goals. Now, I had the top 3 centermen I had were, I did not, what I wanted was a guy that would be happy to be in the 4th spot. Now, if I picked the number 1 guy, the scoring tile, he'd want to play on one of the other lines. And Bobby Miller, I knew, would be happy to be on the 4th line and kill penalties, and he was happy. And he would be out there when the referee would have his hand in the air for a penalty. Before he put his hand down, Bobby would out there wait. So that's why we didn't, and I know Harry was very upset, and I had to work. When we had exhibition games, I had to work at keeping him on the team. And he kept on the team, and he was a great little guy. Now, he was the last guy. We had 11 20-goal scorers, and he was the last guy. And I must tell you about how...
And that was his rookie year, too.
That was his rookie year.
Rookie year, a 4th-line center in the rookie
Who kills
year.
penalties.
Kills penalties, got 20
But we
goals,
worked at it, I have to
20
tell you.
goals, yep.
And when we get up a couple of goals, he'd play all the power plays and everything, because we wanted to set a record that will never be broken. So anyhow, we're in Toronto, and we're up by 1 goal, and I'm hurrying this through, and it's near the end of the game, and Roger Nielsen is coaching Toronto, and for some reason he thinks it's ice. It's not icing, it's an offside. So he pulled the goalie off, and he realizes it's icing. It's a face-off at his own end. And he tried to put the goalie back, and Wally Harris, the referee, I never forget it, said, "Nope, go out there. Nope, keep your goalie off." So we get Greg Shepard's getting the draw.
So you're having a face-off in their end with no goalie.
No goalie. First time in the history of the game.
Oh, my goodness.
So because, Wally Harris wouldn't let him put the goalie back. So it's a face-off. I can still see it now. Greg Shepard's left-hand draw. He pulls the puck back to Bobby Schmatz. Bobby Schmatz puts it over to Miller because we wanted him to get the 20 goals. And I remember Borgie Solming was laying across the net, playing net. He was going to block the shot. He goes to go. He's going to pass the puck. And we're all yelling, "Shoot, shoot, shoot." So he shoots for 20 goals. And we all jumped on the ice, and and everybody, we get 20 goals.
Yeah, the Toronto fans are thinking, "What the heck's going on?"
What's the big
scores
deal?
An open net,
Open net, and we shouldn't. And he was going to pass it though. And here we had been working on. So anyhow, we got that, and
I just wanted just a quick kind of offshoot on that. So that we got 11 20-goal scorers that year, right? And I said to you, who was the biggest plus minus on our club at the time? And we were just talking about him.
And I mentioned a couple of guys, and I couldn't think of it. And from Buck Lake,
Ontario, up in Kingston, Ricky Smith was plus 70.
He was plus 70.
Plus 70. To give you Graves was the
and Graves,
Ryan Graves was the
this year
was plus 40.
And
Ricky Smith was plus 70. Ricky Smith was always on the ice when we got a big goal.
Getting assists.
And he got an assist or whatever, but I just couldn't get over that.
We have to. Yeah.
We'll have to talk about Ricky Smith one time.
Ricky, we must from Buck Lake. I remember went fishing one time, and with his dad and his mom, and he used to go down Buck Lake and go fishing and everything like that. So anyhow, he plus 70.
Plus 70, yep.
And the guy that won the plus
this year was plus 40.
I remember you came home one day and you were mumbling about something about a tanner. What was that about?
What happened was we were on the plane and we had a bye. We had 3 or 4 days off. We were a first place club, and we had a bye. So he used to love to fish, and everybody around Boston loved to fish, go out in the ocean and fish all the time. Bluefish, I think they used to.
That's right. He was a big blue fisherman.
Yeah, they bluefish. I used to think the fish were blue. But anyhow, yeah, you and Bobby, you must tell that story about you and Bobby went out fish one time.
Yeah, well, that was kind of a long story. We'll tell that.
Yeah.
One.
So anyhow, he's got a great tan. If you notice the players in the playoffs this year, and Tampa and Dallas, they all look white. They look almost translucent.
Translucent.
Yeah, and you can see the veins and everything. They all look sick. They all look sick. And you're supposed to look, that's the way it's supposed to be in the playoffs. You're supposed to look sick all the time. So here we are, we're all looking sick and white and everything like that. And we go back and he's got a tan. So Schmatzy come up and he says, take a look at Miller. He whispered, take a look at Miller. So I go back to Miller and I said, what's going on here? And he said, well, what grapes? And I said, look at the rest of us. I said, we look sick and you got a tan. He said, well, I was fishing those 4 days. I said, and I really give him heck, let on. I given him hecking. He said, well, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do about it? And I said, get rid of it.
Well, you were saying the happiest guy on the team when Bobby Miller made the thing was Peter McNabb, because you used to kind of be you're not really a whipping boy.
No, I used to give them heck all the time, and they knew I was rest of the players knew I was kidding. And Peter McNabb, I used to do it all the time.
But,
I remember,
but then when Bobby Miller came, then you gave it to Bobby.
I switched over, and in college, it's really in college. They, I think they do it now. And the first time I saw it was in the prospecting when a coach gives a talk at the end of it, and I think they do it in the National Hockey League. There's a lot of college guys in the National Hockey League now. They clap, and you're thinking, oh, I did a pretty good clap. And what happened was I give a little talk before a game and something like that or something, and he clapped.
The only guy that clapped.
The only guy that clapped, and everybody looking at Milbury was the other American on the club. He was sharp enough to know.
He knew better.
He knew better.
Yeah, tell the story when Bobby Miller, when his first time he was playing against Montreal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're sitting in the dressing room. Now, you got to remember, Montreal had lost 8 games all year. They lost 1 game at home. They could win any time they wanted. And I guess in college hockey, they always hollered, come on, guys. We've beaten better clubs than this. So I said, oh, yeah. So I went to him, what club have we played you've ever played that's been better than this club? And he was a great guy. I really.
Do you know he played for Brian Kilray? He played 5 games for Ottawa.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He played 5 games for Ottawa. I think after he finished his college career, Ottawa owned his rights, and he came up and played 5 games. Got 10 points in 5 games with Brian.
Oh, I thought he got 10 points in 5 games.
10 points, 5 goals,
what
5.
What was he doing up there?
I think what happened was that Ottawa owned his rights. And he finished his college career. I forget. I think he played University of New Hampshire, I think. And then, so he was done. So I guess Brian called him up, and he came up and played 5 games.
Brian's pretty sharp. He knew the players. But anyhow, Bobby Miller passed away, and I can't believe it. I tell the stories, and I still think. And I saw him when he was there when they Boston Bruins put on a pretty good show with the 11, 20 goal scorers. And he was there, and I can still see him now. He had all his hair. He had curly hair, and he was going to look like a movie star. And
I was going to say I remember him saying that when I read an article that he said he never had a fight in his life, but he said when he went to the Bruins, he says we stuck up for each other, and he says and I think one of his first fights was against Doug Riseborough, yeah. And then you know who else he fought? He fought Wolf Paymont.
Holy, and he survived?
He survived.
He didn't know Wilfer. He wouldn't have.
Yeah. And he was one of the first college,
Milbury was the other guy.
Yeah, Milbury, but he was one of the first
Just think, Dad, you had 2 college guys on your team as, big bad Bruins, and you were sort of ahead of your time when you think about it, that you had 2 college guys like that on your team.
I think of that, and Americans too. The rest of the guys were Canadians. And
how progressive of you.
Well, I remember he was a great skater, and
he could really skate.
And when I would, I was 11 or 12 at the time, and myself and some of the other kids, he'd always stay after, and he'd fool around with us and play hockey with us after practice. And
he was almost as young as you guys.
It was. And he was a really great guy.
He was a good guy, and I still can't believe he's gone. And I really feel I just got the news, and hard to believe.